I hurt your feelings?
Oh, a little bit, but I'll get over it.
Happy Festivus to the rest of us. It is Thursday night. It is Christmas Eve. This is the All About the Birds weekly report here on the AAT Sports Network. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, sharing. We're trying to build up that YouTube following because, again, and we say this every time, the comments on Twitter do not work. So if we build up the YouTube following, you'll actually be able to comment and commenting on Facebook and YouTube to comment. I am Chip for the Birds. This is Johnny U at Johnny U9322. We'll be joined hopefully in just a little bit by Paul Dottino, a New York Giants beat writer who actually writes for Giants.com. So that's cool, but I'm going to make this really simple and easy. The game this week is a no-brainer Eagles victory if they play at all like they are capable of. Starting off the show like that, Johnny, do you agree?
Oh, I 100% agree with you. This is a game that if they play like they did on Tuesday, now not the first couple possessions, but after that, this is going to be a stomping, in my opinion, if they play the way they did. But again,
it should have been though. Even the first one should have been.
It should have been. The Eagles, they were with the 4 turnovers from the first game, and they still lost by 6 points and a chance to win at the end.
The first game was a terrible game plan, and it was executed somehow even worse.
Yeah.
So now that this team is removed from that, they had their bye week. Look, we're definitely concerned. We're going to talk about all this. We're going to talk about COVID concerns. We're going to talk about injury concerns and who's healthy and who's not. We're going to talk about all of those things. But none of it matters. The Eagles should, without a shadow of a doubt, beat the absolute pants off of the New York Giants this weekend.
I agree with you. This is a team, a Giants team that is in a little bit of a flux. They're a little bit beaten up, and they're just not very good. So the Eagles have to take advantage of that. They took advantage of a beat up and not so very good Washington football team on Tuesday night. So this is an opportunity for them to, get over 500 for the first time.
Very important.
Since week 1. So it's a big game because there's a lot of implications with winning these next upcoming games that we'll talk about that and everything. But this is a huge game, and the Eagles just have to stay healthy, and that's just not injury wise. That's illness wise and COVID and all that stuff too, because that's a huge factor in terms of your team and who you can put out on the field as well.
Right. So let's talk some Eagles news. And I have not scrolled through your banners. You have nothing added there, so it's easy. Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong banner. Hang on. Weekly report. Yeah, nothing in there. Okay, so let's talk Pro Bowl real quick.
Okay. We could talk
the Eagles got 2 invitations to the Pro Bowl, and Darius Slay and Jason Kelce. Both very deserving. And actually, the game that Kelce played last week, to me, just showcased why he is a Hall of Fame center. Not Eagles Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. The guy is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. Jason Kelce, what he can do on the field and what he does, and his athletic ability and his smarts and everything that comes along with him, he is an absolute Hall of Fame center, no doubt. No doubt in my mind, he is a Hall of Famer with everything that he's done. And he's still playing at a high level at age 34, if I'm not mistaken. So he is absolutely a Hall of Famer in my book. But, you looking at the Pro Bowl, he gets a Pro Bowl nod, and Darius Slay, who is much deserving of what he did.
Much deserving. And he spent all day yesterday cashing in receipts.
That's fine.
Cashing in receipts.
Absolutely should. When you can deliver, you should be able to do that. And he's the first Pro Bowl corner since Asante Samuel. So it has been a while. It has been a while. And we've, as Eagles fans, have been through the Nnamdi Asomugha's, Bradley Fletcher's, Kerry Williams,
Byron Maxwell,
Leotis McKelvin, all those wonderful cornerbacks. And I know there's also more to name and everything, but I'm not going to go that far. But, those two guys are.
We appreciate that you're not.
You're welcome. And those guys are very well deserving. But there were a couple guys that were left off, in my opinion.
Hold on, because I wanted to get into that. The guys that we were about to talk about. So Mike K put out a really interesting tweet, and I commented back on it. And he said, look, Lane Johnson was a snub. Jake Elliott was a snub. And he said, there's one more that he said was a snub too, and I forget who it was.
Javon Hargrave.
It was Javon Hargrave. Thank you. To which I said, look, I agree with you as the homer. Lane Johnson missed some time, so that could have gone against him.
But again, see, this is where I'll turn around here for you. And Tyron Smith missed time too, and he was elected. So you can give me that he missed time, but Tyron Smith missed just as much time as him. And I think they give way too much credit to a left tackle all the time, and it's only left tackles that get in there. When Lane Johnson, yes, he plays right side, but he's one of the best right tackles in the league. And I think Tyron Smith has declined the last couple of years. And I agree. I feel like that's a little bit.
I was simply playing devil's advocate to the tweet, basically saying, like, trying to find the reasons why these guys weren't picked in. Javon Hargrave, I think, is actually a little bit of an easier one. Yes, he is statistically having a great season, but while he played every game, took entire games off statistically.
Yeah, but I understand that, but he still was productive. He's still a productive player. And you look at the stats, and I forget the NFC defensive tackles that got in, because there was one, I can't think of the name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Because I know Aaron Donald and you got those guys, but there was one that was Kenny Clark from Green Bay. Kenny Clark from Green Bay. I think that's just, he may have a decent season, but I think Javon Hargrave had a much better season than Kenny Clark in terms of what he can do and what he did on the field. So I think that was a pretty big snub in my opinion on that. Now, of course, he could still get in, if there's injuries and stuff like that, who makes Super Bowl stuff, all that aspects. But right now he's not in. So I think he definitely, and I agree with you. I think Jake Elliott, Elliott
was a snub. Jake Elliott was the 100% snub, because you can't tell me that Matt Gay is a better kicker than Jake Elliott right now.
No. And everyone's like, well, if you look at the percentages, Matt Gay only missed 2 field goals. Jake Elliott missed 3 or 4, whatever it was.
Matt Gay also spends a lot of time kicking in a dome.
But also Matt Gay has missed an extra point, and Jake Elliott has not missed one all season. So you want to go, people want to put the percentages aspects of the kickers and all that. I kind of look at more clutch kicks, and I look at, where you're kicking and stuff like that. If you're kicking in a dome 50% of the time or more than 50% of the time, I understand you still have to make those kicks, but Jake Elliott has had a hell of a season, especially after he struggled last year. And a lot of people calling for, Jake to not have a job this year and to be in competition in the training camp and preseason. I was one of those guys. And I said that, and, I'll eat crow because I was wrong. And he definitely proved a lot of us wrong to be a kicker. When he goes out on the field, you're not like, please, I hope you make this kick.
No, he's consistent now.
He's a consistent kicker, and he's like, okay, he's going to make this kick. And that's great. The Eagles, you need that. You need that. But even a guy like Jordan Mailata, and
he's not ready. He's good. He's very good, but he's still learning his craft. He's still learning his craft. I have a bigger issue with Kyle Pitts making the team
over Dallas Goedert.
Not even over Dallas Goedert, over any tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that was a little premature. I understand. He's played pretty well this year. But I think to give a rookie tight end right away,
I had him on my fantasy. I can tell you for 100% certainty, Kyle Pitts should not be a Pro Bowler. Week in and week out, I could tell you that he should not be a Pro Bowler.
If he had a bigger game last week, you would have won. But
shut your mouth. I put him on the bench last week.
Well, hey,
Tom frickin' Brady.
If you're gonna bring that up, I'm gonna, you're gonna tell me that pre-show behind, in the green room here. I'm gonna bring it in.
Yeah.
But
then, so now kind of segueing into a little more current events. It's amazing that the quarterback that should not be the quarterback of the future was picked by his peers to be the alternate NFC quarterback. Jalen Hurts might actually be good.
This is where we need Mike on the show because,
yeah, maybe that's why he took the night off.
Maybe that is why. But no, he's a Pro Bowl alternate. There's a possibility he can make the Pro Bowl. There is he had his 10th rushing touchdown. So I went back in history and looked at other quarterbacks who would have, double-digit touchdown runs or double-digit touchdown seasons. And I was pretty surprised. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot. You would think, Randall, Michael Vick, all those type of
right. You'd think they'd have those high numbers.
No. The most was Josh Allen and Michael Vick had 9, guys you think would. Otherwise, there was still a handful of guys. Cam Newton was on that list 3 times.
That guy sucks.
Now he's not the best quarterback, but Kyler Murray and it's funny, Cordell Stewart and guys.
Slash. I loved Cordell Stewart growing up.
But no, it's just funny because Jalen Hurts has 10. The rookie year of Cam Newton, he had 14. So 14 is the highest number. And again,
there's still 3 games left.
Also, Lamar Jackson's not on that list as well. So it's just some company that he's in. The stuff that he's doing on the field, and you have all these analysts coming out there. Dan Orlovsky was showing some, the game he played on Tuesday, and then Brian Baldinger talking about him. And you have all these, high analysts, talking about him. And hey, if he's starting to turn a corner, if we're going to start seeing some consistency of what he did on Tuesday, turn into the games and not get a game like we saw with the Giants. Now, again, every quarterback has their struggle games. You can point to players who are really good. Even if you want to look at a
Tom Brady just cost me a fantasy championship.
He didn't score 1 point.
He scored me 2 fantasy points.
Well, I mean 1 point in terms of in the game points.
I know.
But again, quarterbacks will struggle. He has the mentality. What I want to see is I think he's earned that. Also Adam Schefter put something out about Jalen Hurts, and it was earlier today on Twitter, and talked about how there may not be a better quarterback that they're going to be able to find this offseason than Jalen Hurts.
We've said that for months.
So I think you go to 2022 with Jalen Hurts. You have all these draft picks, this assets with all these first round draft picks. You also are going to have probably between $40 and $50 million in cap space to spend and, retooling this roster and gaining more playmakers and doing what you can do to shore up this roster, because there are holes and we know that. But I want to see 2022, especially, what would be pretty funny? Wouldn't it be really fun to watch him get the Eagles into a playoff game? So they get the wild card spot, and say they get matched up with whoever, and they wind up winning the wild card game by some chance, and Carson Wentz doesn't make the playoffs, or and then you'll still.
No, they're making the playoffs because Jonathan Taylor is the MVP.
Or what happens if he loses? But it's just funny how, we waited so long with the other quarterback to make the playoffs. He makes it, and then he's out within the first 2, 3, 4, 5 plays. He has 4 plays, and then he's out.
Oh, I picked the Colts over the Cardinals this week. That's right.
You did. I picked the Cardinals. So there's, again, our green room talk about our picks, but we'll talk about that when we get to that segment. But it's fun to watch. Like, just enjoy it, because when was the last time that we had fun football in Philadelphia? It's been 2 years basically.
Last year it has been.
Last year was
stressful. Even the year before that, when it was bad. It was tough.
It was the last month of the season that was kind of fun because they were winning, because they had to win out. So that was fun in 2019, but that first half of that season was awful. And last year, even when they win, it felt like a loss. If you look at those games that they won last year. So last year was a dreadful year in general, plus a dreadful football year because of what we had to watch on the field. So, and then the off season with everything that came about, but this has been fun. And now we have looking into this week with the New York Giants coming in 4-10, which I did see another stat. The New York Giants have double-digit losses for the 5th straight year. And that hasn't happened. They've had the most they've had was 3 straight from 78 to 1980.
So let's talk about this Giants team a little bit then. Because They are clearly the worst team in the NFC East. Screw you, Colin Cowherd. And they're starting to shut players down, right? So Daniel Jones has been shut down with his neck injury, which is, I think, the right call. Whether or not he is the right quarterback at all. I mean, I don't think that I've never thought highly of Daniel Jones. I thought that he was grossly overdrafted and anointed as Eli Manning's replacement, and he's never been very good. That's always been my take on him. But they put him on the bench anyway for the rest of the season with this neck injury. So now you've got Mike Nothing But Neck Glennon and Jake Fromm. I was doing my show last night with JD, and he said there's a very real possibility that to get back at the Eagles, the Giants are going to throw their game with Washington. To which I would have responded, they aren't going to win anyway.
Yeah.
They would actually have to try to win to throw the game.
But, to that point, because they play Washington the last game of the year because the Eagles play Dallas. You do know if the Eagles do win the next two games and Saints win one of two and the Minnesota Vikings loses their next two, the Eagles will clinch without needing that last game for a wild card spot.
Sounds good.
So that is something that is possible because there's COVID's running rampant. And
each of those teams that you mentioned, the Saints are now using their fourth different quarterback, and oh boy, the Vikings just lost one of their two most dangerous weapons in Dalvin Cook. I mean, they become a one-dimensional team now. You could have a problem here.
Yeah, and the Vikings literally tried to give the game to Chicago on Monday night, and Chicago just didn't know what to do. So, you look at the Giants and you look at Jake Fromm and you look at Mike Glennon. They don't scare me at all.
Who scares you more, though?
Who scares me more? Mike Glennon doesn't scare me one bit. He's a turnover. I think what Jake Fromm would do is it's almost like the Garrett Gilbert effect. He may start out okay.
It's the Taylor Heineke effect. It's the small guy willing a team to victory.
Yeah, but I just don't think Fromm is that talented, and I feel that he may start out okay, but then once basically they know that he's not good enough, and then he'll turn it into because. The thing is, with the quarterback, with Fromm or Glennon, you're going to need to run the ball to be able to be successful no matter what you do because you're not going to be able to pass to victories. And Saquon Barkley, he's starting to get a little bit better, but the problem is their offensive line. And the Eagles' defense, since they've implemented TJ Edwards into the lineup, their defense, I think, has given up maybe 100 yards once in the last 6 or 7 games. So I know the last 2 games they've given up 70 yards apiece, and then it was 66 the week before that. And their run defense is becoming a lot more stout. They're playing a lot better. And I'll give credit to the defensive line as well. It's not just TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards is helping that. But the defensive line's playing very well. Like I mentioned in the postgame show, I loved watching Hassan Ridgeway, Teron Jackson.
Yeah.
Those guys. We probably don't have to watch Ryan Kerrigan this week. He's now on the COVID list, which we will talk about after.
It's going to be the exact same statistics that if he is on the field.
Exactly. And they're bringing up a guy from the practice squad, which, you know what, my lock may be, maybe we'll hold off on that. I'll get to that then. But I just think you look at this Giants team and the Eagles defense able to stop the run. They're going to be able to put pressure, especially interior, because the way Hargrave and Fletcher Cox played on Tuesday night, I think they're going to be able to give Skura and Will Hernandez some fits interior wise. The same with Billy Price. Their interior, their line is not very, basically it's not very strong. So I think.
But remember, we said all this a couple of weeks ago. We were so confident a couple of weeks ago. What is to say? And again, I do not think that the Eagles will lose this game. Even from a couple of weeks ago, this is a different football team.
But again,
you now have Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders and a commitment to the run game. Like Jalen Hurts did not even have to be the feature back. Bobby's asking a great question here. How do you do this on a short turnaround with your head coach out with the virus? That's exactly what I was going to get to, Bobby. It's a great question.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough, keeping guys healthy. I think the big thing is you didn't come out with a lot of injuries in terms of on Tuesday night. So you didn't come out with a ton of injuries.
Seemingly, it's been a bunch of walkthroughs, so we don't really know. So Mailata was limping around a lot.
He's on the list with an ankle, and Saquon's on the, or not Saquon, Miles Sanders. Yeah, mix those up. Miles Sanders is on with a quad. So those two guys are on there. And then also Jack Stoll, we know he got upended there, hitting the knee, but it seemed like he should be okay. But right now it's going to be tough because it is a short turnaround, but also Nick is out with the virus. If we him testing positive, Kevin Patullo is going to take the game decision in terms of fourth downs, timeouts, challenges, stuff like that. He's going to be control of. Shane Steichen, who's actually been splitting the play calling with Nick, that Nick did talk about. So he'll be the offensive play caller, and then Jonathan Gannon will be calling the defensive plays, which is no different than what he has been doing. But I think right now is just keep an eye out, because who else is going to possibly go on the list in terms of the coaching staff and in terms of the players? Because right now we've had Dickerson still on the list, Dillard also, and then this week they put two, LaRaven Clark and Ryan Kerrigan. And they called up Cameron Malveaux, who's a defensive end in the practice squad, some depth defensive end. And then they signed Casey Tucker, who was in the preseason and practice squad here and there during the season, to the practice squad because he knows the system. He's been with the team. So because right now you're down 3 offensive linemen. And
which, again, we want to talk about people who deserve trophies and statues. Jeff Stoutland is a god.
Yeah, absolutely. What he can do. I think since 2013, he's had, I think, 8 straight Pro Bowlers, 8 or 9 straight Pro Bowlers, and
which has only been done like 5 times in NFL history.
Exactly, Assistant Coach of the Year, if they give that award, that is 100% Jeff.
He wouldn't even take it.
Yeah,
that's what he wouldn't even take the. We'd be like, thanks, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I'll give him all the respect. Absolutely, what he's done, what he has done.
So, again, I have to just kind of circle back. How is it possible? How is it possible that the Eagles could lose this game? Tell me the list of things that would have to happen going into this game that could possibly cause this upset.
Just go.
Which again, I don't think is going to.
I don't think so either. But just go a few weeks back, put in the tape, take a look at them turning the ball over 4 times. New York not turning the ball over, and there's your recipe. You turn the ball over 4 times. Now they only gave up 13 points, and when you give up 13 points in an NFL game, you should always win that game. There should be no way that you lose a game giving up only 13.
The defense played great that game,
but if you turn the ball over and you give the Giants short fields, you're going to lose the game, and I think that would be the biggest recipe for the New York Giants is if they're able to capitalize on turnovers and have short fields, that's going to be their calling card in terms of winning this game. Because I don't know, I don't feel that they can outscore you. It's not going to be a shootout. And I agree, Bobby. Jeff
100%.
Stoutland does belong in the Ring of Honor, Eagles Ring of Honor, absolutely, Eagles Hall of Fame. But
so I go a different way because the concern that I have is the COVID spiraling situation. If there's too much more upending, for example, we know it's in the lineman's room. If it somehow gets to Kelsey, we have a problem because we know that Herbig cannot play center. And with Dickerson not there, now we're down 2.
That's the strength of the Giants defense is that defensive line with Leonard Williams, Austin Johnson, and Dexter Lawrence. So that's a big strength to them. And if you have second, third, fourth stringers playing on your offensive line, depending how many people are out, that's going to be a problem. Now, I do want to say for the Giants, their COVID situation, Adoree Jackson was put on last week, but I think he is unvaccinated, so I think he's at a minimum of 10 days. So he may miss this game, which is their starting corner. They're back. One of their backup corners, both their backup corners, Keon Crossan and Aaron Robinson on the COVID list. One of their backup safeties, J.R. Reed, is on the COVID list. They got a handful of guys on the list as well. They don't have many injury concerns. They have one of their backup offensive guards are injured, but Kadarius Toney and John Ross were on the list as well as of last week. So
Even Saquon's listed as questionable.
yeah, and I think he will be all year just because, I know he's, still banged up a little bit. But again, we don't know which of these players are going to be coming back for the Giants. There's still a couple days until that happens, but just that's one thing, and it's going to be for the rest of the year. You have to just keep an eye
moving forward too.
That. Yeah, you need to be able to keep an eye on that because you have to have guys on your practice squad ready. They got to be ready. Second and third stringers, they have to be ready to go because anything can happen. You could be before the game. And like if the Eagles would have played Sunday, most likely Landon Dickerson would have been out right before the game. So same thing that would happen with the Rams when they had a couple guys that were out right before the game. So definitely something to keep an eye on because your injury statuses, that's one thing, but with COVID, it could pop up that day and then the guy is out. And then
right. And we really do need that time because we saw Suopeta. I do not think Suopeta had to go. I thought he was terrible, actually, on Tuesday night.
His pass blocking struggled. He had a couple good run blocks, stuff like that. But again, with what you're asking somebody to come in who's technically like a third and fourth string player right now.
Right.
He did better than I thought. I was concerned with the interior of the Washington defensive line and what they brought because they got everybody back. Everybody came off of COVID list except for Tim Settle. He did not play. He wasn't active. So for the Washington football team, they had a strong interior line and he struggled a tiny bit, but I think he held his own better than I thought. Rewatching the game, watching him, he struggled a couple times, but in run blocking, he did play well. And I think for that, again, it goes
because inexperienced NFL linemen and inexperienced linemen, not even NFL linemen, if you have a struggle as an offensive line, the quickest way to deal with it is to run the ball because you allow those players to attack. And earlier in the season, there was that confusion and the over-reliance on the passing game. Mm-hmm. Nick has seemingly fixed that up. He is seemingly now bought into a, 60-40, 65-35 mentality. And, look at what's going on over in Indianapolis. They're having a really good season, not because of the guy who's playing quarterback, but because Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines are absolute studs, and the quarterback doesn't have to do much. In Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, who is much more athletic, is having a great season as an athlete, as a leader. Okay season as a quarterback.
Yeah, like I said, they're winning games right now. They're 5-2 in their last 7. So I think and I know, well, you're playing easier teams and you're doing that. And it's understandable. I understand that. But again, you have to play who's on your schedule. And
true.
I just think the way they're running the ball, over 175 yards in 7 straight games. Last time was 1985 Chicago Bears.
Oh my God. Can we talk about that statistic for a second?
And by the way, the Chicago Bears did not do it in an 8th straight game. I actually looked back because I wanted to see if they did it the next game, but they did not. So, but go ahead.
When they drop that stat, look, I understand that Jeffrey Lurie wants it to be an air raid offense. He'd be great if we passed the ball 90 times a game, not 90%, 90 times. But Philadelphia is kind of like a hard like nose team, hard nose city. We've always loved our running backs. We've loved our Ricky Waters and our Charlie Garners and our Deuce Staleys and our Shady McCoys and our Brian Westbrooks. There are more prolific Eagles running backs in our franchise history than there have been wide receivers. Go with what works.
Ooh, actually, if you really think about that, you take a look, Steve Van Buren. Yeah, I'm going way back. Steve Van Buren. You look at Wilbert Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
You look at, I'll even throw in there Keith Byers because he's kind of like a
Keith Byers. Hell, you can throw in some fullbacks. Go Kevin Turner.
Yeah,
we love these guys.
Herschel Walker was a running back with them.
Herschel Walker,
Ricky Waters, and like you mentioned, all those other guys that you look at, and then the receivers. You just really, Tommy McDonald, Harold Carmichael,
T.O. Mike Quick,
T.O.
Harold
Mike Quick.
Carmichael.
You don't have any all-pro, all-star, Pro Bowl, all-pro type of guys. You're right there. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right?
There's a trend-setting take right there. The Eagles, the town of Philadelphia, likes running backs because throughout the history of the franchise, we're more prolific in the running game than we have ever been in the passing game.
It's you look at that. It's a pretty good one there. I like that. You really look at the history. You look at the running backs, who they've had in their history. It's pretty good there. And that's not naming guys, two guys that, Eagles fans wanted, guys back in the day like O.J. Simpson and Ricky Williams.
Well, I mean, we even had guys like, DeMarco Murray, who had come off a huge season. We hate him now because he ended up not doing anything. But it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier if you go through the history of the NFL, of the Eagles NFL franchise, to fill up a paper with running backs than it is to fill it up with wide receivers that have been important to the franchise.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The only little chunk of time where you can say that was the Buddy years because he had Quick and Carter for a short time.
Right.
But otherwise, because he didn't have many running backs at all. But no, you look at the history and you're right there. You look at the running backs.
But that's what my point is, that you tie it into then what we have this season, and they're comparing it to the 85 Bears, and that's incredible because, again, you look at what the 85 Bears were able to do, and we have Jordan Howard, and I'm the one eating crow on that one because I was irate that we signed him. But
a hell of a 1-2 punch right now.
It's a hell of a 1-2 punch. So much so that Boston Scott is all of a sudden irrelevant totally irrelevant, which I'm fine with. And Gainwell, they're using him as the receiving back, but he's got to, catch balls that are thrown his way. But it's the kind of 1-2 punch that carries over well into December football.
Oh, I 100% agree. It's exactly what you want to do. You want to hit him in the mouth in December when it's cold and wear football teams down. And that's what the Eagles are doing. They're wearing teams down. Exactly what they're doing.
And with that, let's do this.
It's time for the Eureka Locks of the week. Who's your lock?
I always just want that to say, who's your daddy? But that's weird.
Well, we could do that if you want. But
no.
Last week, let's bring this and get this in. So last week, our guest, Rio, he had Devontae Smith with a touchdown. That did not happen.
Reason why I lost in fantasy.
And he also, when he made the prediction of the Washington getting the win, he had Antonio Gibson 89 yards and a touchdown. Well, he had 26 yards and a touchdown. So
he left early.
He did.
And also, prayers up to Rio. Hope my man gets better. He's not doing so great right now. He's in the hospital right now with the vid. So, prayers up for Rio. Hopefully he's going to be okay.
Yeah, hopefully everything's going to go good with him. Mike had Miles Sanders getting a touchdown. Unfortunately, did not happen.
Still hasn't happened.
I know. I'm hoping he can get a touchdown in the next couple of weeks. He just needs to get off that goose egg. You had the Tennessee-Pittsburgh game had 90 combined passing attempts. That did not happen. They had a combined 57. So you were just a wee bit off.
Just a wee bit off. So I'm the Call the Locksmith Award winner for the week.
Yeah, because I was right. The Bills winning by 17. They won 31-14. Exactly 17.
That's a Christmas miracle.
It is. So, yeah. And I'll let you go over the weekly picks with all the records because you had a good week last week.
I had a great week last week. So again, we've been doing this all season. We've been making these picks. There is a 3-way tie for second place with 139 and 85 between Johnny, Jeremy, and Jeffrey. You guys were all 10-6 last week. So nobody gained any ground on anybody. And I actually opened up my lead by going 13-3 last week bringing my total to 144-80 on the season. I did pick the Colts to beat the Patriots. That was definitely a helpful pick. And I threw one away when I picked the Jaguars to win a game.
Yeah, I guess you. Well,
it was the Jags versus the Texans. It was a literal coin toss where the coin lands standing vertically.
But again, it was a coaching change. So you thought they may have some life in terms of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of differences. Even my wife and I, she went 12-4 last week. We did our show. We have 6 games different. So there's room to gain. I think, Johnny, you mentioned that we have 7 games different this week, you and I.
Yeah, last time I counted was 7 games between us that were different. So, yeah, there's some movement that may be made in terms of you getting a bigger lead or me trying to catch up a little bit to you. So definitely something to keep an eye on that. And so this week, what's your Eureka lock?
So I'm scrolling. I'm looking through my picks. It's tough because I probably would have picked something on this Thursday night game. Because while I don't want them to win, the 49ers are they've been pretty consistently good these past couple weeks. But obviously that game's going on, so I can't make that pick now. I am going to I'm going to go a two-parter.
Oh, a two.
I'm going to go with a two-parter.
To make up for last week.
I'm going to go with an if-then. If-then statement. Okay, so we're going Chargers-Texans.
Ooh, okay. Chargers-Texans.
I do think that the Chargers are going to win by quite a lot. In fact, I'm going to put down that if the Chargers win by 14 or more points, then the Texans will fire their coach during the season. Like they will fire him like Monday or Tuesday. By the time we go on air next week, there will be a new coach for the Texans.
Okay, I will put that.
There's already starting to be rumors of it just because the Texans have looked so very bad. They just can't get anything. And part of that's because you have a team built around Deshaun Watson and he hasn't played. So it's not really his fault, but they hired a guy with the hope that it would get Deshaun Watson to stay and play. And Deshaun Watson was like, nah, I'm good. So they're like, well, we really don't need this guy who's not that good.
But hey, that definitely can happen. So the game I was going to, and the Chiefs have been on a little bit of a run.
Always.
They've been playing really well. But they've had some COVID. Hopefully, they can get Kelsey and Tyreek Hill back. But I'm going to go. Their winning streak is going to end this week. I think the Steelers are going to get it. The Steelers are going to win. Pittsburgh is going to beat KC. And that's all I'm going to say with that. I'm not going to give any score prediction or anything on that aspect. I'm just going to say flat out, Steelers are going to come away with a victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. So that leads us into the Eagles prediction.
Well, hold on. We got to put Adam's pick up there. Adam says Miles Sanders gets not 1, but 2 touchdowns this Sunday. That's his lock.
I like that.
I would like to see that because I actually am starting to feel bad that he's not scoring. It's the scene from Varsity Blues when every time they get close to the goal line, they take the black running back out to let the white guy score. Every time we get close and in the red zone, they take Miles Sanders out so Jalen Hurts can get a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, I feel bad for Miles. I think he deserves it. He's playing really well. He's playing.
He gonna get one.
Well. And the thing is, he's not. They say he's hitting the hole. He's not dancing in the backfield, losing yards. He's hitting the hole, and even when it's not there, he's getting up there and getting 2, 3, 4 yards. He's not trying to dance and try to make it into something, which is great to see, especially with his development. So that's also good to see. So hopefully he does get some touchdowns this weekend. So it leads us into our predictions.
All right. Well, Adam says 35-17. He's given the Giants another field goal since a couple minutes ago. So 35-17.
He's playing it on
I
Madden,
won.
so he just had to update the score.
Yeah, I won last week for the picks, so you have to go first.
What do you mean you won?
For the picks.
Oh, I thought you meant our predictions. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So
What was my I know I picked the Eagles to win last week. What was the score?
35-17.
All right.
I had 30-14. So we were the two closest. But going on this game, you look at the Eagles, and hopefully there's no other COVID cases. We don't get any other big time players that are going to be missing the game. Hopefully get Dickerson back, but I think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball. I think Jalen Hurts is determined to take that game at the Meadowlands and make everyone know that's not the quarterback that he is. So
there was a flag on the play. The field goal came off the board. I'm sorry.
Oh man. I think the Eagles are going to be able to move the ball like they did against Washington. I think they're going to be able to move the ball down the field. I think, with the home crowd, with being at home, and I didn't make him my U like a lock, but if Cameron Malveaux, the practice squad call-up, does play, I think he gets a tackle, which means he'll be a lot more beneficial than Ryan Kerrigan would have been.
That's great.
That is going to be, yeah. And I'm going to write that down so we can always check the box score and see. But I'm going with the Eagles. I am going to go 31-10.
All right. Bobby over here is saying the Eagles are spanking the Giants 45-3. Oh my God. I would make my very happy Sunday. Let's do that. I'm going to look at this a little more realistically, though. I think that there's some of these X factors floating around. The very short week, the COVID concerns, and the Christmas hangover. I think that they get the win. I don't think it's a huge win like that. I'm going to go 30-21.
30-21. Okay. A little close, but
that's what I'm saying. But there's enough things out there kind of floating around where I could see it being close.
Yeah.
Adam, we don't know if Sirianni is going to coach Sunday as of right now. I mean, all we know is that he's got COVID and he's in the protocols.
Yeah, he can test out of it. So hopefully, but you know what? Before we end it, I do want to say with Sirianni, he was feeling a little bit sluggish and decided to get tested. I feel like that's really good. If you feel that you have symptoms, to go get tested. And he did that so he didn't expose the rest of his team for being selfish and stuff on that aspect. So that's very good for Coach Sirianni to be able to go that and try to limit the exposure as big as possible because they're fighting for a playoff spot. You don't want to do something where it hurts your playoff chances and something like that. So that, it's good for that. Hopefully, all the players have that mindset as well. So definitely something because it's like I said, it's not going away and playoffs are coming. So that's definitely something.
Listen, I'm starting to be of the mindset that the NFL, and it will never happen, and it probably shouldn't happen, but they need to shut down for a couple weeks. Just like the NHL is doing, like the NBA is kind of altering their rules for, rather than making it easier to get the players on the field, get this under control a little bit. But since that's not going to happen, away we go, living with these shenanigans. Let's pay some bills real quick. So we're sponsored by Statement Games, a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. Make sure you are checking that out. We are, of course, have the AATSportsNetwork.com/shop. Make sure you are going in and supporting small businesses and big podcast dreams. Symbol, the stock market sports, symbol.com. Use the promo code AAT Sports when you sign up. All about the birds and lots of rain luxury watches. Use the code AATBirds at checkout for 10% off. Funkbrewing.com. Make sure you are checking that out. And, of course, manscaped.com. Partner with AATBirds. Use the code AATBirds for 20% off and free shipping at checkout.
Your balls will thank you.
Yeah. I was waiting for it. It tickles your inside of your ears with that.
It tickles your ear hole. And like we said, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube. But as we always mention, YouTube and Facebook are the places to go simply because Twitter has not allowed you to comment in a couple of months. So therefore, We're trying to build up our YouTube following. Go there, like, subscribe, share, be a part of these shows. We really do like this going on. JD checking in from the YouTube. Hey there, buddy. What is happening, my friend? So I think if he wants to do it, JD might be doing some post game with us on Sunday.
Okay. Well, after Christmas post game.
Well, after Christmas post game, see if we have that, Eagles hangover. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in with us. We hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, a Merry Christmas or a happy, if you had Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. If whatever you celebrate, we thank you for tuning in and helping us do what we do. And I'm Chip. That's Johnny. And as we end every show here on the All About the Birds Sports Network and the AAT Sports Network and AAT Birds, we end it with a very positive